Okay, it's time. We got to move some snow. Can you open the door, Christy?
It's pretty rare that we get such a big snowfall, so we've been really excited about this one coming up. You saw some of that where we were getting the cab on in the last episode and getting this plow all ready to go. It was going to snow all day long and actually into the next. We had no idea how much we'd actually got. We didn't think we were even close to the forecast. At one point it was 12 to 18 inches we were supposed to get. We think maybe about 7, 8 at this point. It's really hard to tell because its wind is blowing hard. We've got a lot of drifting. Some areas don't have any snow, of course, but we've got some fairly big piles to move, as you can see here. It's kind of miserable out because the wind is blowing the snow. This camera is doing a good job of hiding it, but the visibility is really kind of low. I've got some ice on my windshield. Of course, no heat in there to be able to defrost that and get some of that ice off the windshield. I wish I had turned my windshield wiper on when I first got out. I think the cab was warm at that point, at least the windshield, and so it allowed some of the snow to melt directly on it.
I should have allowed my blade to get cold before I started pushing. Pushing with a warm blade is what makes it not want to start. That's what, But actually, my big drift was right against the door. That's why you see that ice frozen on there. That snow is it warmed up when the blade originally hit it. Then I let it sit there just to kind of see the continuing to move. Got that ice on there. It'll be interesting to see when I get that off.
At this point, you've probably already seen why it's not going to be a very good day for us. Oh, the tractor's working great. The blade's working fine. No problem with that equipment. It's the camera equipment that's not working very well for us today. More specifically, our audio setup. Yeah, we chose to go with a slightly different setup for this episode because we knew that we would be cleaning the long driveway and it would just be hard for Christy to get the regular camera and audio equipment transported from end to end of the driveway. We decided to use our GoPro and just have Christy ride along at times, like now. She's actually standing on the side of the cab. We've got the cab door open. She's hand-holding the camera up over the door. Now, part of this is just stunning. The camera is shaking like mad. You can kind of see the light over there to the right of the cab. And yet, we've got a stable shot, and it looks really nice. So, in that sense, these GoPros are absolutely amazing. A shaky image is almost impossible to watch, as I'm sure you've seen on maybe our channel at times and certainly on other channels. And from my experience, there's nothing finer than a GoPro for producing a steady image. Especially, basically the 8 and beyond. It gets better and better. We don't have a GoPro 10 yet. This is a GoPro 9. From our house, it didn't look like we really had that much snow, so we had discussed just waiting till it was all done. We'd probably have a sunnier day and we could get out and clean it just once. Well, I'm glad we got out here. This is pretty deep. It's about all little Johnny wants to push through. Here's what it looks like from my windshield. When the weather's dreary, it's just a little bit hard to see. Everything looks, well, white. Hey, that looks fun. I'm having some trouble avoiding picking up the rocks. It's worst right here at the end of the driveway. If you remember a few episodes back, I had piled some loose rock right here by the road. Well, it's still loose and it's very easy for me to push it off. So I'm trying to hold the blade up. I find this very difficult. It seems like I'm either scalping or leaving a pile a foot deep. At this point, Christy's riding has straddled the loader arm. Yeah, don't worry, Sally. She'll just fall in the snow if she falls off. You can hear the blade hitting the rock here. It's not picking up too much, but every so often it does pick up several. I'm not too worried about getting it totally cleared at this point. We're supposed to get several more inches. I just want to get those big drifts knocked down so that I'll be able to plow it tomorrow. Anytime you see something dark coming off the left end of that blade there, that means I'm hitting rock or dirt or something and pulling it up and throwing it out into the yard. From my standpoint, it just seems like more work next spring. I don't have a solution to this. I've tried lowering the feet on each end of the blade, and I don't see that helps. It seems like if I get them very low, then I can't plow hardly anything. I just can't find a good position where they actually work for me. Now, if I'm using the loader bucket, the Edge Tamers, edgetamer.com, they work beautifully. We intend to try those in a future episode. But I don't know of any such product that would work on a blade. I also find that the loader mount blade behaves a little bit worse probably as far as picking up rocks than the direct attach blade, the yellow one that I have for little Johnny. Loader attached blade is heavier, but I also tend to run it at an angle that's more downward. I find it a challenge to have it set at the perfect angle all the time. I can't use this blade in the float position because the fork frame would actually hit the ground and drag. This blade is suspended by a chain so that you don't put much down pressure on it if you have it set at the proper height, and that aspect works pretty well. However, it does prevent you from using the float feature. I believe the Frontier loader attached blade is made differently. I don't believe there's any float chain with it. I think it's directly affixed to the loader attached frame. In theory, this would allow you to use the float position. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to work very well because you're going to have the entire weight of the blade and the frame and the loader arms when you're floating. So that's going to be several hundred pounds of down pressure even when you're in so-called float position. I haven't used one, so I'd be happy to hear from those of you that have the Frontier blade. How does it work? Can you use the float effectively? Does it pick up rocks? Does it want to push the blade down and pick the front wheels up off the ground such that you can't steer effectively? Just be interesting to hear your feedback. You can provide your feedback in the comments section below, or you can head on over to tractoruniverse.com and then we can discuss it freely. You can add photos there or link to videos. It just makes for a more interactive place to discuss. I'm shifting up to high range here. I'd like to get that snow pushed a little further off the road. Maybe if I get it pushed back a little further and don't have such a big hump right there, it won't fully drift the road shut overnight. Just for reference, this is our new stock Johnny. This is not Johnny X with the turbo. If you haven't seen that project recently, we have a playlist on our main channel page. Go check it out, Johnny Extreme. Back to our camera equipment. As you can see, the camera itself is working fine. Of course, there are the typical challenges with a GoPro. The batteries will only last a few minutes out in the cold. And if one happens to die while you're recording, well, you lose that entire scene. So every couple of minutes, Christy has to stop the recording and then start it up again, so we make sure we capture at least some of the video. But that isn't our biggest challenge today. Turns out our challenge is audio. We typically use a somewhat large and very expensive audio system that we can split apart every channel. We get a lot of positive comments from you guys about our audio quality, but when we're using the GoPro, that's just not available to us. With the GoPro, we use the Rode Wireless Go 2. This is probably the most popular wireless mic system for YouTubers. It's very compact, it's handy to attach to the camera, it's a pretty good system. Oh, and it's very cost effective. However, like any tool, you've got to use it often to really understand how it works and keep it configured the way you want it configured. Well, that's the problem. Christy and I were both wearing mics, and we had them configured so that they recorded together, both of them in stereo, and our audio couldn't be separated. For example, at this point, I'm giving some commentary, probably some of the most brilliant color commentary ever. Yeah, right. But anyway, I'm talking here from inside the cab, and we're getting nothing. Making our day even worse, at one point we had to replace a battery, and I didn't get the audio cable plugged back in. So I think somewhere in here, we don't have any audio. Through the magic of editing, Christy's able to use some audio from earlier in the episode to make it seem like it's sort of realistic, right? You probably couldn't tell if I didn't mention it to you. In Hollywood, I guess they just shoot it again, but for us, we might have to wait 3 or 4 more years for another snow like this. I don't think we can spread it back out and then plow it off again, can we? Yeah, we don't have that option. In this section, I was passionately discussing the differences between a loader attached blade and a direct attached blade. Yeah, you can see. Look at all that passion there. Well, I promise you'll get my thoughts on that, but they'll be in a later episode. You can get this blade at Artillian.com. It connects to an Artillian fork frame, so it'll work on either your Deere or your skid steer quick attach, depending on which fork frame you have. It requires a third function or diverter to be able to angle the blade back and forth. It's a good solution if you get a lot of snow. With the loader, you can raise the blade up and push the snow into big piles. We seem to always get big drifts in this area right here, especially if I have the trailer parked here. Loader attached blade is way out front, so it tends to want to push your front wheels away from the snow pile. Okay, just for fun and good measure, I'm going to go along my main driveway here again and push that snow pile one blade width further away. Yeah, I think it is mainly for fun. Remember, we had no audio, but I thought you'd enjoy seeing Christy here in her special winter gear. You need to know that Christy is very cold-natured. You know, I did bring her up here from the south, and I promise you on days like this, she'd just as soon be inside. Seriously, we apologize about all of our camera issues, audio issues. Hopefully, tomorrow will be a better day. Right? We all have these days. But it was frustrating for us to make a mistake on such a rare big snow event. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim. Learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. Come now, let us settle the matter, says the Lord. Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they are red as crimson, they shall be like wool. Hey, the National Farm Machinery Show is getting close, February 16 to 19. Each day at the Deere booth at 11 a.m. And yep, February 16th, we'll share a cheeseburger at W.W. Cousins' St. Matthew's location. You'll love this show. It's worth the extra drive. See you there.